What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the NFL main slate breakdown here for Week 10. My name is Joe Bewer, and I'm going to be breaking down some of my favorite plays for this Week 10 NFL main slate. We got a lot of edge to be had, a lot of new injuries that have arisen since the first look video on Tuesdays, but a majority of the stuff that happened in the first look video is going to carry over to this video. So with that being said, let's jump into it. If you are watching this video, I do want to go ahead and shout out Fantasy Draft sponsoring this video. We are partnered with them. If you go ahead and sign up using the code SHARPSPORTS or following the link below in the description, you can go ahead and send us a screenshot after you sign up and deposit, and we'll give you an NFL pass for free. You can get all of our private content, not just these public videos. So, like I said, if you're a viewer watching and you want some insider access, go ahead and just take advantage of this offer. You could just deposit and never play if you wanted to, and we'll give you a free pass. So, a few injuries that have arisen. James Conner is projected not to play, which opens up some value for Jalen Samuels over here, but they have hiked his price up to a very considerable price tag here, which is a little alarming. The other news that we have received that Christian McCaffrey was limited in practice this week. If he doesn't play, that makes this roster construction 1,000 times easier. I fully do expect him to play, but if he doesn't, this whole roster construction becomes a lot easier. We can get a very balanced lineup, and everything just flows a little smoothly. Alvin Kamara as well is also fully active and is going to be playing against Atlanta, which muddies up a little bit of the water because Alvin Kamara becomes in play at 8,200. Drew Brees used to use him as a very heavy check down back when he was active, and Drew Brees was not injured. Now, Le'Veon Bell, still haven't received any news for him, so we're still waiting on that. If he doesn't play, that opens up a very, very large amount of value. And then David Johnson is going to be active this week as well. So that's something to look at, that Kenyon Drake's usage should take a little bit of a dip. Now on the quarterback side, Patrick Mahomes is fully expected to play this week. I don't think he's going to be chalk, but he is a top play, that's for sure. Lamar Jackson is questionable right now, and I fully expect him to play. But Matthew Stafford is questionable as well. Matt Ryan is on track to play, which is a very good sign of keeping this game close between New Orleans and Atlanta. And then Jacoby Brissett is still questionable as well. So with that being said, Drew Brees is still my favorite quarterback on this slate. I think he makes a lot of sense. Pairing him with Michael Thomas is easy. I think that is something that has to be done. It wouldn't make any sense to not do that. Now, the one piece of information that we did receive is Evan Engram is not going to be playing this week, so we can find some value over here on the New York Giants with somebody like Rhett Ellison. We do know that Daniel Jones loves to use tight ends. Rhett Ellison at 2.5K allows us to get massive amounts of upside throughout this lineup here, which is definitely something that we're going to need to be able to fit somebody like Christian McCaffrey if he is active into the lineup. I'm assuming he's active because he's Christian McCaffrey. So with that being said, we're going to have to dive deep here. There's two pieces of value that I want to talk about. Kalen Ballage, if it looks like Kalen Ballage is going to be the starter this week, it doesn't look like, Mark Walton is suspended, so Kalen Ballage is going to be the back for the next 3 or 4 games. It's definitely something that we're going to want to look at. And then Kareem Hunt is activated this week. We're unsure of his role, but we are assuming that he should be able to reach value based on his previous rapport. So I believe that Kareem Hunt is going to be a solid play here. We know Nick Chubb's going to be the workhorse, but if they can use Kareem Hunt as a check down back, that's definitely something that I'm interested in. But if I had to choose, I would go with the safety of Kalen Ballage. I think it makes a lot of sense to get somebody who's going to get a ton of touches in against an Indiana defense who is not that great, not that terrible, but they're middle of the pack here in rushing defense. So I think those plays still apply. Now, when it comes to the receivers, this is where we have to get a little creative. You're going to have to pay down for somebody. Before we do that, I'm going to just plug in a defense here, being the Dolphins. I am assuming that Jacoby Brissett won't be playing and Brian Hoyer is going to be in. I think that Miami can hold off an Indiana defense, and I feel like they're going to be fairly chalky at 2.4K. Now, what we really have to do here is decide on these wide receivers. This is a heavy week to play wide receivers, and Chris Godwin needs to be at the full front of all of your lineups. I know we played him last week and he didn't do too well, but Patrick Peterson is going to be all over Mike Evans in this matchup. Not saying that Patrick Peterson is super stout, but that leaves a lot to be desired for Chris Godwin, who's going to be receiving some very soft coverage. So I want all of the Chris Godwin that I can possibly get. Now, if we were to go ahead and throw Kareem Hunt in the flex spot down here, we would be left with 5.4K at receiver, which is plenty to get somebody like Calvin Ridley or Devontae Parker at 4.8K, which seems very lovely here with Preston Campbell out for the rest of the year. I fully expect Devontae Parker to get a heavy amount of targets, but if you are playing cash games, this is what my lineup would look like as of now. Like I said, we're not sure about the Jets. We're not sure about Christian McCaffrey. But the core needs to be Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, Chris Godwin, and Rhett Ellison is going to be a lock for me with Evan Engram out. I fully assume that Rhett Ellison, as well as Golden Tate, is going to receive an indefinite amount of targets. So, with that being said, let's move on to a GPP. I think your GPP needs to start with Jameis Winston and Chris Godwin in this scenario. And I think you need to throw my man Cooper Kupp in there. Brandon Cooks is going to be out this week. I very, very much so expect that Cooper Kupp gets a hefty amount of targets against a Pittsburgh defense who ranks pretty stout. But for being a GPP, I think this is a good spot that we can target. In GPPs, I will fully fade Christian McCaffrey, and I will gladly do so. I don't think that it's a spot where I want to play a ton of Christian McCaffrey, especially when I'm trying to be different than the field. I think Devin Singletary makes a lot of sense. 20 touches last week, and I fully assume that he's going to get the same amount of work again. At this price tag at 5K, I don't fully see a lot of backs that are better than him at this time. The only other player that I would play is Derrick Henry at 6.4K against Kansas City. They're a terrible defense against the run. But my only concern is that if Patrick Mahomes plays, that Tennessee's going to they're going to have to fire the ball downfield because they're going to be playing from behind for a majority of the game. Now, what this does is creates two spots here. Saquon Barkley makes a very incredible play here. He's going to go very low owned because of the Jets' defense. I think he makes a solid GPP option. And Alvin Kamara, coming off this injury, I think he could have a massive game. Going up a middle-of-the-pack defense, I think Alvin Kamara makes for a very solid play over here in the GPP category. Now, Rhett Ellison is going to have to be put back in the lineup. 2.5K creates so much value. And then the defense, I still think you fly with the Dolphins. This leaves you with 5.2K, and I think you can go with this middle-of-the-pack area for wide receivers. You can go low, that's for sure. But I think that somebody like Golden Tate without Evan Engram, who steals a ton of targets, Golden Tate is going to be used so heavily against a terrible pass defense. I think Golden Tate is a solid play. And then if Matt Ryan is available, I think Calvin Ridley is in a smash spot. I think he's going to receive an elevated amount of targets. There's no Mohamed Sanu anymore, and they're going to be double-teaming Julio Jones. So I think that Calvin Ridley is in a smash spot only and if only Matt Ryan does play. So for me, I would probably put Devontae Parker down here, leaving you 5.6K for a flex spot. And this is where the waters get a little muddy here for GPP. I would probably go with Robert Woods. I would probably do Robert Woods or Austin Hooper. I don't mind Austin Hooper here at all in this area for Matt Ryan. If he is playing, Austin Hooper's been a very, very beneficial target of Matt Ryan. So for me, as far as, like I said, cash games, it is going to be Godwin, Michael Thomas, McCaffrey, and Drew Brees. That's the core. For GPPs, it's going to be Jameis Winston, Godwin, Kupp, and Kamara. I think Kamara makes a lot of sense for GPPs. Like I said, I'm really hoping that Christian McCaffrey doesn't play. Our cash game lineup is going to be on another level if Christian McCaffrey doesn't play. Heading on over here to FanDuel, it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be a little bit tougher, but we're going to be able to make it work with McCaffrey, and we're going to be able to plug in Kalen Ballage down here at 4.6K. Going to be able to plug in Michael Thomas and Chris Godwin. Tight end is going to make this a little easier because nobody was expecting Rhett Ellison to not be able to play. We're going to plug in Mr. Rhett Ellison, and then we're going to plug in the low-tier defense being the Dolphins at 3.3K. It leaves you 5.7K left. There's plenty of receivers down in this range that I have a ton of interest in. Golden Tate is super underpriced over here. Devontae Parker at 5.8K. You have Danny Amendola down here again. Cole Beasley, Calvin Ridley. If I plug in Calvin Ridley, I'm left with 6.1K in the flex spot, which can get me somebody of decent standing. Curtis Samuel is getting a ton of targets. Don't have any interest in Joe Mixon, but you can get a ton of players. DJ Moore, Christian Kirk, Tyler Boyd. You can get a ton of players in this range. So, with that being said, I think that for DraftKings and FanDuel, you can get roughly the same lineups. Over here on Fantasy Draft, I don't think that's the case. I think you can actually get a better lineup over here on Fantasy Draft. So if we play Christian McCaffrey and we drop down to Kalen Ballage down here at the very bottom at 7.4K, Kalen Ballage, we go with our wide receivers, which we need Michael Thomas and we need Chris Godwin. Now we drop down to Mr. Rhett Ellison, who is going to be only 5K. And then we go defense, and we get the Miami Dolphins. You're left with $11,000 to get whoever you so please. You could put Kamara in and have somebody at 6.8K. You could put Kamara in and play John. You can't play Jonnu Smith. You could play Anthony Miller. You could play Kyle Rudolph. You could play Vance McDonald. You could play Greg Olsen. You could play a ton of people. I probably wouldn't play Kamara just because that would not create for too much of a balanced lineup. But let's say that you wanted to play somebody like Jalen Samuels in this lineup. Actually, we're going to go with somebody who I would play, and that'd be Julio Jones. I think Julio, if Matt Ryan plays, still could have a solid game. It leaves you with 8.7K left. 8.7K can still get you Cole Beasley. Can still get you Ronald Jones, who's projected to have an incredible week. Darius Slayton, Randall Cobb, BC Johnson, Deontay Johnson. You can get the best lineups over on Fantasy Draft. That's why I would strongly recommend depositing over here and at least giving it a try. You can get Julio Jones, Godwin, Michael Thomas, Drew Brees, and Christian McCaffrey all in the same lineup and still have it work. So I would definitely give them a try. It's a strong option over here. Sharp Sports Network bringing you an incredible promotion. So with that being said, that is going to conclude my main slate breakdown here. The core didn't change a little bit. We still had Drew Brees for cash games. We still had Michael Thomas. We're locking in Christian McCaffrey like we did before. But instead, we are locking in Chris Godwin again this week and Rhett Ellison. I think we have to lock those guys in. For GPPs, I'm deciding to play Kamara this week. I think Kamara for GPPs makes a lot of sense. So for GPPs, it's still Jameis Winston, it's still Chris Godwin, and Alvin Kamara, and Rhett Ellison. Rhett Ellison is the value of the week. It is the biggest value right now. So this video will be coming out on Friday. We do not have all the injury news yet. So if you're a member watching this video, take what you need away from this, but the private roster construction will come out on Saturday night when I have a full and better idea of the injury situation so I can create a better full lineup. Like I said, if you want access to that private roster construction, go sign up on Fantasy Draft right now. Send us a screenshot on Twitter, and make sure to get that done before Saturday night. So with that being said, good luck to everybody on this main slate. If you are not a member, good luck to you. Hopefully this helps you with a little bit of roster construction, and I will see you all on Sunday night for that Sunday night showdown game. So until next time, peace.